Hi everybody, very welcome to Mentor and yet another video podcast. As always, I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. Today in the video, guys, I'm going to give you my view as a passenger on how it was to fly the Boeing 787. And I'm also going to give you some interesting facts and some history about the 787. So stay tuned.
Wind 31016, third one right, right on right.
Third land, 31 right. Delta 260. See you later, dude.
Right guys, before I start talking about the Dreamliner, I just want to make sure that you all know about and have downloaded my free app, the Mentour Aviation App. You have the links to get it down here in the description of the video. And inside there, it's made for you guys, for you if you're a passenger or an aviation enthusiast, or if you are a pilot in training and you want to talk to other pilots in training, or if you're a professional pilot and you want to go in there and you want to answer questions and just be part of the community. All of this you can find in there. Get the app now and I'll see you inside there. Just tag @Mentor. Right, so the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. I flew with it as a passenger from Krabi in Thailand to Doha in Qatar, and it is an absolutely fabulous aircraft, right? The history about the 787 started in the end of the 1990s, where Boeing was looking into replacing the Boeing 767 and the Boeing 747. Now, when it came to the Boeing 747, they basically looked into just making a newer and improved model of the existing one. But in the 767, they thought, let's do something cool. So they were looking into a project called the Sonic Cruiser. That was a completely new type of aircraft that was designed to fly very close to the speed of sound, as in Mach 0.98. And they were they made a lot of effort putting into that design project. But then 9/11 happened. And after 9/11, the whole airline industry was turned over. All right? That, together with the fact that the fuel prices were rising, meant that the airlines were less interested in having a really quick airliner and more interested in having a very, very economic airliner. So Boeing saw this and they scrapped the Sonic Cruiser concept, at least for now. And about a month later, they announced that they were starting a project called the 7E7. And the 7E7 was supposed to be an airliner that could be about 20% more efficient to run than the 767. The way that they would achieve that was by using technology that they had already kind of accrued when they were designing the Sonic Cruiser. That was including a lot of composite materials, about carbon fiber. What became the 787 actually has about 35 tons of carbon fiber in it. And also using bleedless technology. So instead of using bleed air that's being taken off the engine to pressurize the cabin and to de-ice the wings, it would be using electrical pumps to pressurize the cabin and electrical heating to de-ice the wings instead. And they were looking into several design changes when it comes to the aerodynamics of the aircraft. So Boeing ended up working on the 7E7 project for a large part of the early 2000s. They decided on a name for it, and there was quite a funny story about the name, because what they did was an online competition. What should we name this airliner? And they had suggestions like the E-liner, the Global Cruiser, and the Stratoclimber. But the name that finally made it was the Dreamliner, and I'm quite happy that they chose that one. So anyway, ANA Airlines became the launch customer. They got their first 787 back in 2011, and initially there was some problems with it. They had problems with fuel leaks initially, and also I'm sure that you all remember the problems that they had with the battery fires. And also there was some initial and actually ongoing problems with the Trent 1000 engines. But most of these problems have all been sorted by now. At the moment, the 787 is an incredibly reliable airliner, and it is actually delivering on the promise of being 20% more efficient than the 767. Recent studies have shown that it's actually closer to 21% more efficient. And that makes a huge difference. It enables airlines like, for example, Norwegian Air Shuttle Norwegian long haul, to exist. It enables low-fare long-haul companies for the first time because it's so efficient and it carries so many passengers that it's actually economically viable to do so. Now, the 787 can carry between 242 and 440 passengers depending on seating configuration, and also depending on which of the 3 models you're using. So you have the 787-8, 9 and 10, and also the 787 Boeing business jet, but that's a different thing. So, how was it to fly then? Well, the first kind of things that you as a pilot noticed when you were boarding the 787 is its beautiful engines. I love the design of the fan blades. Also, something that's different from the Airbus 350 is the raked wingtip. So instead of having winglets, which the Airbus 350 has, Boeing has these kind of backwards aimed raked wingtips that actually bend quite a lot when you're taking out lift from the wings. Other things which are obvious are the chevrons that you see on the engines. Now, I've made a separate video about what those chevrons do, so you can click the link and check that out. But in short, they're there to reduce noise footprint. And then you have the drooping nose. The nose on the 787 is quite defined. Now, some people hate it, some people love it. I personally think it looks really good. I think it looks similar to the old de Havilland Comet back in the day. But my view on how it was as a passenger, well, let's have a look. Let's have a look at some of the features that I thought about. Hi everybody, very welcome to the Qatar Airways 787 Dreamliner. We're just pushing back here from Krabi, and yeah, so far really nice. You can see the lighting here above, and here's me and Lucas.
And the safety inspection is going right now.
Alright, so we should probably pay attention to that first. So we are taxiing out here for takeoff in Krabi. You see the wind sock over there, which means we'll probably take off opposite to that direction. Like I mentioned on my previous video about the Airbus 350, the 787 is also very quiet when it's taxiing out. A little bit of rumble when we started up the engines, a little bit of vibration, but as the engines are starting to move, it's very quiet, and we're sitting next to the engine here. One thing that I want to show you guys is something that's very special for the 787, and that's the window shades. Like you see here that the window shades, we don't really have any physical ones, it's an electronic one. So here, if we push this button, you can see that it turns into a little blue dot there, indicating what kind of shade level we have. So if I put this all the way down, actually, it seems like, oh, this is a cool feature. It's actually not possible to change the shade level in the takeoff mode. So if I wanted to shade it down, it doesn't work now because we are about to take off, and it doesn't allow us to shade it down. But once we're in flight, I'll demonstrate it for you. So, reaching the runway threshold, the little beeps that you could hear there was most likely the flight crew warning the cabin crew that takeoff is imminent. I did a video about the secret sign language that the flight crew is using, so if you want to check that video out, then just go up here and click on the link above.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've literally seen it.
So, runway 32 here in Krabi. Here we can see the full runway length. So what we can expect now is the engines rolling up to about 40% or so in order to stabilize. You can see the wings with the raked wingtips and the slight winglets here on the edge. Okay. And there we go. Very nice and quiet indeed. Feel the pressurization starting to build up, which is different from the 737, because the 737 would start to pressurize as you set takeoff thrust, but this one you can really feel it happening during the actual takeoff roll. Now there were some big mountains on the extension of the runway, and this is probably why we have to do this initial turn so quickly.
Extravaganza are invited to re-catalog your seat pocket or invite your service to come shortly. Please refer to your personal menu bar for more details. If there is anything else that we can do to make the flight more comfortable, please feel free to let us know.
You can see that the leading edge devices are fully deployed still, and as we're reaching now, I would say around 2,000 feet or so, we should see that the both the trailing edges and the leading edge devices should start to be retracted. But I have to say that it is very, very quiet. The Airbus A350 was very quiet, and this is very quiet as well. Down there we can see Anang, which is where we were. This is Hoda. And here we are. Here we have the leading edges folded back into place. So one thing that I promised to talk about is the electronic dimming function that you have here. Now here you can see that at the moment this window is fully bright, and the window next to it here is fully dim. So let's see the difference here. So this is the fully dim version, and here's the fully bright. So there is a significant difference between the two. And if you want to dim the window, say that I want to bring this one down to fully dim, that. It takes about 10 to 20 seconds to go from fully bright to fully dim. Actually, it's still dimming here, so you can still see quite a bit of a difference between the two. But it's kind of neat. So another nice feature on the 787 are these huge windows. So the 787 is built to a large extent from carbon fiber and composites. That has made the body of the aircraft significantly stronger and lighter than previous variants, and that has enabled Boeing to make these windows much bigger. They are significantly bigger than on other types, but as you can see, they're still not rounded. And if you have been following the channel, you know that I made a episode about why the windows are rounded. If you want the specifics on that, I recommend you to just click the link here above. But it makes a difference actually. It does give the feeling of more room in the cabin, and especially these kind of cutouts next to it also increases the feeling of the window being really big. Otherwise, in-flight entertainment systems and stuff, quite big screens on this 787. Standard things like USB charging points. This is something that the Airbus 350 did not have, which is a gaming pad, which is kind of cool. I'm guessing my son will probably use it soon. Large trays, a lot of, well, not too much, but a little bit of space to cut stuff in. But unfortunately, no charging like normal plug charging station, which is something that I saw that they had on the Airbus 350, and I really liked. Right, guys, so that is close to 7 hours of flying inside of the 787 Dreamliner. Me and Lucas have had a great time. It is remarkably quiet, as in, I know I said that the Airbus 350 was very quiet, but the 787 is, I would say, almost equally quiet. We've gone through some areas of turbulence actually, and the funny thing is that it actually seems like these wings are taking up quite a lot of the turbulence, because even though I can see from the way that they're flexing that the turbulence is probably light to moderate at times, you don't feel much inside of the cabin, which is great. So now we are on approach in towards Doha. You can see these beautiful raked wingtips here. We were using the speed brakes for a couple of minutes. Now we're not anymore, and we haven't started to take flaps yet. So this is a major difference between the 350 and the 787, where the Airbus 350 has some quite pronounced winglets. The 787 has gone with these raked wingtips, which is basically just the wing sweeping backwards and slightly upwards, and it changes form as the wing is taken out more or less lift. Alright guys, so here we are, fully configured for landing. You can see the leading edge slats and slots here. Trailing edge is a little bit hard to see from this angle. This is Doha in the background. So since I did a landing video of the 350, I thought it would be more than fair to see how the guys in the 787 are doing. It's an absolutely gorgeous machine, this, any circumstances. But when it's taken out maximum lift, as it is right about now, speed is back to final approach speed here, 145, 150 knots, I would guess. Then it's an absolute beauty to watch, both from inside of the cabin and from below, and definitely from inside the cockpit. If it's up to me, I'm going to try to get my hands on a 787 simulator, see if I can show you how it looks from the cockpit in one of these days coming up. Down to about 400 feet here. This would be the 737, then the flare would start between 20 and 30 feet. I'm guessing this one will start a little bit earlier. landing. Reverse is closing in. And any second now we should see the spoilers starting to come down. There we go. Right guys, so all in all, my impression of flying the 787 was brilliant. It is a fantastic aircraft. I know that I said in my video about the Airbus 350, which you can check out here, that I thought that the 350 was much better than the 787, but now, having reversed the flight and flying the 787 first and then the Airbus 350, I have to say that the similarities are quite big. You know, it is equally quiet as the Airbus 350. The cabin kind of feeling, the fact that the cabin altitude is lower is really noticeable. You feel less tired when you fly it, and the fact that humidity is higher also makes a difference. All right, I still think that the Airbus 350 was slightly more comfortable to fly on, and that has to do with the fact that it's slightly wider, and if you have the same seating configuration, obviously that translates to more space. But they are both fantastic aircraft, and if you have a chance to go on a trip on a 787, I highly recommend it. Now, before you go guys, I just want to make sure that you check out the Mentour Aviation app. Okay, once again, it's completely free. You have the links to download it here in the description of the video. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a forum for you guys, if you're interested in aviation or if you're a passenger, to go in. Maybe you want to know about something. So what does that sound? Why does it look like that? You can just go in, you can tag me or another professional pilot and we'll explain it to you. Or maybe you're a flight student and you want to know about the school that you're going to. Well, then there's a list in there with people inside of the app who are willing to talk about their flight school. You find your flight school and just ask your questions. Anything in there. Or if you want to, you can get one of my collections, right? That's the only thing that costs money inside of the app and the only way that I have at the moment to recoup the costs of developing it. And it's me and a colleague of mine explaining things like rejected takeoff and evacuation, or a full setup of the 737, or an engine failure of the takeoff. It's all done in beautiful 360 format. So you can use your fingers and you can swipe around and see what's going on, or you can move your phone around, or you can get a Google Cardboard headset. And if you put the phone in and look through that, it'll feel like you're sitting on the jump seat together with me when I'm doing these maneuvers. So if enough of you guys want to, now the all-in-one collection is about 2 hours of instruction, and that costs about $10. But if you go in and tag @Mentour and say, I want it for 5 instead, enough of you do that, I'll do a snap sale inside of the app. For a day or two, I'll reduce the price down to $5 or €5. So go in there, engage yourself in the chat. Let's make this forum into something really great, positive and constructive. See you inside of the app, guys. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.